At 1:13 in the morning, my disgraced son called and told me to hide above my own guest room. 10 minutes later, I watched my son-in-law open a safe under my floor, pull out my dead wife's real trust papers, and photograph every page like a thief finishing homework. By sunrise, I understood two things. My son had not ruined our family. My daughter's husband had. My name is Ellis Beaumont. I am 64 years old, retired from the Charleston Harbor Authority. And I live in an old blue house in Ansonboro where the porches sag a little and the neighbors can identify you by your screen door. My late wife Lillian used to say I could hear shrimp blink in the marsh. She meant it as a complaint. I took it as training. That Thursday night in March, the house was supposed to be quiet. My daughter Clara's husband Vincent Sloan was asleep in the guest room downstairs. He had arrived 4 days earlier with one polished suitcase and a story about mold remediation at their condo. I believed him. I gave him fresh towels, Lillian's spare key, and the good coffee I usually saved for Christmas morning. My phone buzzed once on the nightstand. Nathan. My son had not called me after midnight since the night he was taken away in handcuffs. Back then, the whole city believed he had stolen from our family marina. I believed him when he said he was innocent, but believing your boy and proving it are two different animals. One comforts you. The other bites. I answered before the second vibration. Dad, Nathan said, and his voice was so controlled that it scared me worse than shouting. Do not turn on a light. Do not ask questions. Go to the upstairs storage room above the guest room. Lock the door from inside. Keep your phone silent. And whatever you hear, do not tell Vincent. The room changed temperature. Vincent Sloan was my son-in-law, my daughter's husband of 10 years, the man who kissed Clara's forehead in church and sent me expensive pears every December. He worked in waterfront development, which meant he used words like revitalization while buying places where working men used to tie boats. I had never liked him much. I had never feared him until that sentence. Nathan, what is happening? I whispered. He came for what he hid, my son said. Dad, I need your eyes on it. Not a camera, not a guess. Your eyes. Move now. There was a crack in his voice, then just enough to remind me he was still my boy beneath all that steel. I got out of bed without another word. I moved through my own house like a burglar, past Lillian's framed watercolor of the Battery, past the hallway table where Clara had left a vase of white tulips 2 days before, past the stairs that always complained on the 4th step. I pulled down the narrow ladder to the storage room, climbed up, shut the trapdoor, and slid the old brass bolt into place. That storage room had been Lillian's someday room. Someday she would hang bookshelves. Someday she would put in a reading chair. Cancer is a cruel editor of someday. Now it held Christmas bins, hurricane shutters, her sewing machine, and a cedar chest full of sweaters that still smelled faintly like lavender. I sat beside that chest and tried to make my breathing smaller. There was a gap between two floorboards near the far wall, a little black line I had meant to fix for 3 years. Light appeared underneath it. The guest room lamp clicked on. I lowered myself flat and looked down. Vincent stood below me in a white shirt and dress pants, barefoot, calm, checking his watch as if he were early for a meeting. He crossed to Lillian's old armoire in the corner. That armoire weighed nearly as much as a refrigerator and had made 2 movers swear in front of my pastor. Vincent shifted it aside without strain, not because he was strong, but because he knew exactly where to grip. Under the back leg was a square of floor I had sanded myself in 1998. It lifted like a lid. I stopped breathing. Beneath that floor panel was a steel box with a keypad and a turning handle. I had lived in that house 28 years. I had repaired the roof, replaced the pipes, painted every room twice. I knew the bad window, the loose banister, the closet where Clara had written her name in purple marker. I did not know a safe was under my guest room. Vincent entered a code without hesitation. The safe opened. He removed a red leather folder, thick and wrapped with a black band. When he sat on the bed and opened it, the top page caught the lamplight. I could not read the small print, but I read the heading clearly enough. Beaumont Family Coastal Trust. Original Amendment. Lillian May Beaumont. My fingers went numb. Lillian and I had signed our trust papers together in 2014 at a law office on Broad Street. The marina, the house, the life insurance, everything was supposed to be divided evenly between Nathan and Clara. Our oldest friend, June Pritchard, was to receive $25,000 for helping Lillian through treatment. That was the agreement. That was the promise. The document filed after Lillian died said something different. It said Nathan's inheritance would be suspended because of pending criminal accusations. It said Clara would control the family marina until Nathan cleared his name, which never happened in time. Vincent had helped Clara manage the burden. That was his phrase. Manage the burden. I had thanked him for it like an old fool. Vincent placed each page on the bedspread and photographed it with his phone. He was careful, almost gentle. Not panicked. Not rushed. A man does not move that slowly when he is discovering something. He moves that way when he is returning to a hiding place. I watched him handle my wife's real wishes with the patience of a spider checking a web. He finished, returned the folder to the safe, closed the panel, and pulled the armoire back into place. Then he stood in the center of the room for a moment, looking around like he owned the walls. The lamp went dark. I stayed on the floor above him with dust in my mouth and Lillian's lavender in my nose, unable to move. Nathan had gone to prison 6 years earlier for embezzlement from Beaumont Marina. The numbers had looked terrible. Fake vendor invoices, missing escrow deposits, transfers into an account with his initials. He served 19 months in federal custody and came home thinner, quieter, and harder to reach. Vincent had stood beside Clara at every hearing, one hand on her shoulder, mourning with the rest of us. For 6 years, Nathan's name had sat in our family like a chair nobody used. Clara avoided saying it because guilt made her careful. Vincent said it with pity, which I mistook for kindness. At Thanksgiving, there was always one empty place no one mentioned. I kept telling myself time would sand down the damage. Time did not. It only varnished it. Now I wondered if my son had not come home broken by shame. Maybe he had come home sharpened by a purpose. Maybe joining the state financial crimes unit after his conviction was expunged had not been redemption. Maybe it had been a map. I sat in that storage room until the first gray of morning touched the little round window. At 5:06, my phone buzzed once. Nathan wrote side porch. No lights. I climbed down with knees that had aged 15 years overnight. Vincent's door was closed. The house held that guilty silence rooms get when secrets are sleeping inside them. Outside, Nathan's black sedan waited half a block away under a crepe myrtle engine off windows fogged with cold. I got in the passenger seat. My son looked like he had slept in a chair for a week. He was 37 with Lillian's gray eyes and my stubborn chin, wearing a dark jacket with no badge showing. On his lap sat a file box so full the lid would not close. I stared at him for a long second. I fed that man oyster stew, I said. Nathan blinked. Then something almost like a smile touched his face and vanished. I know, Dad. I let him use your mother's mug. I know. He looked through the windshield at my house. I am sorry I pulled you into it this way. I needed him to open the safe while you were in the house. Your testimony makes the warrant clean. I wanted to be angry. I reached for it because anger is easier than grief. It did not fit. The boy I had visited behind glass had spent 6 years walking toward this morning, careful enough not to stumble. Talk, I said. All of it. Nathan took one breath, opened the file box, and began with the kind of patience that only comes from pain. It started with Lillian's trust. The original amendment gave Nathan and Clara equal control of Beaumont Marina after my death, not before. It also protected the property from being sold, without both siblings agreeing. Vincent needed that clause gone. He wanted the marina land, not the bait shop, not the docks, not the men who worked there. He wanted the shoreline beneath it. Lillian had never warmed to Vincent. She was polite because Southern women can turn politeness into a locked gate, but she watched him the way she watched weather reports during hurricane season. Once, after he offered to modernize the marina accounts, she told me a man who says modernize too often usually means remove witnesses. I laughed then. I do not laugh about it now. He had help, Nathan said. A junior attorney at Whitcomb and Reed copied the old notary page and attached it to a forged amendment. The fake version put Clara in temporary control because of my charges. Vincent convinced her it was a protective measure. Nathan handed me a copy. My wife's signature sat at the bottom, close enough to hurt. Not hers. Almost hers. And the charges I asked. My voice sounded like gravel. Nathan's jaw tightened. Manufactured. Vincent used shell contractors tied to one of his development companies. He routed payments through marina accounts, then planted my credentials on the approvals. He had a bookkeeper testify that I ordered her to backdate entries. She recanted last month after we found payments to her brother. The windshield blurred in front of me. I remembered Nathan in court standing straight while the prosecutor called him greedy. I remembered Clara crying into Vincent's jacket. I remembered myself wondering in one private and poisonous second if grief had made my son reckless. That single doubt now rose in me like bile. Vincent had not only framed Nathan, he had made us participate by believing evidence. Why not tell Clara? I asked. Nathan's eyes did not leave the street, because she would have confronted him. Clara believes in doorways and conversations. Vincent believes in exits and leverage. If he knew we were close, he would destroy records, threaten witnesses, maybe take money offshore. I needed him comfortable. I needed him arrogant. And me, I said. He finally looked at me. I needed someone, Vincent, underestimated. That landed in an odd place. He did underestimate me. For 10 years, he had treated me like a porch ornament with a checking account. He thought you were lonely, Dad, Nathan said softly. He thought kindness made you blind. I looked at my house at the window above the guest room. He chose the wrong old man. Nathan pulled a cream-colored invitation from the box. Clara's handwriting looped across the envelope. Vincent and Clara Sloan 10th anniversary dinner, Saturday, March 21, the Lantern Room, Charleston Harbor. I knew about the dinner. Clara had planned it for months, a private room, friends from Vincent's firm, our pastor and June flying in from Wilmington. I had told her I would come if my hip behaved. June knows, I asked. Nathan nodded. She remembered the trust meeting. She remembered Mom arguing for equal control. She also kept a voicemail from Mom 3 weeks before she died saying Vincent was pushing too hard about the marina. June thought it was grief talk. She kept it anyway. Of course she had. June kept grocery lists from 1,992. Lillian had chosen her well. Nathan told me the voicemail was only 43 seconds long. Lillian had called June after a bad afternoon with Vincent. She sounded tired but not confused. If anything happens to me, remind Ellis that the children share the docks, she had said. No husband, no banker, no smooth-talking stranger gets between them. June saved it because love sometimes has better instincts than law. What happens at dinner? I asked. Nathan slid the invitation back into the file. He gets one toast, he said. Then we take the glass out of his hand. I sat there as dawn widened over the street. 6 years of my son's life. My wife's last wishes. My daughter's marriage. All of it balanced on a restaurant table 2 nights away. Friday passed like a storm pretending to be weather. Vincent came down at 8:30, cheerful and expensive, asking if I had more coffee. I poured him a cup. My hand did not shake, which surprised me. Big weekend, he said. Clara's nervous about the dinner. You know how she gets. I smiled. Your wife cares about things being done right. He laughed, not hearing the teeth inside the sentence. She does. That's why I married her. I watched him drink from Lillian's blue mug, the one with the chipped handle. For one dark second, I imagined taking it from him and breaking it over the counter. Instead, I asked if he wanted toast. Men like Vincent expect anger to announce itself. Silence unnerves them more. He spent the day making calls on my porch, pacing under the jasmine, talking about zoning investors and municipal delays. I sat inside with the newspaper open and read none of it. Every few minutes, I heard his polished voice through the screen door. He sounded relaxed. Why wouldn't he? He had framed my son, captured my daughter, and hidden my wife's real trust under my floor. That afternoon, I overheard Vincent on the phone with Clara. His voice softened, honey poured over a blade. He told her Nathan might show up and make the anniversary uncomfortable. He told her forgiveness was noble, but boundaries were healthy. I stood in the hallway with my hand on the banister and understood the misunderstanding he had fed her for years. Nathan was not dangerous. Nathan was inconvenient. Saturday morning, I woke before sunrise and made breakfast. Eggs, grits, coffee, bacon, crisp enough for Lillian to approve. I ate every bite because a man should not face justice hungry. Vincent came in wearing running clothes, looking rested. Smells good, he said. Help yourself, I told him. He did. That was Vincent's gift. He could steal from your table and compliment the wood. At noon, Clara called to remind me about the dinner. 7 sharp, Daddy. Please wear the navy jacket. Vincent says it photographs better. Her voice was bright and tired, full of lists. I closed my eyes. My daughter had spent 10 years polishing a cage because she thought it was a marriage. I'll be there, I said. I would not miss tonight for anything. Before I dressed for dinner, I opened Lillian's closet. Her church hat still sat on the top shelf in a round box, ridiculous and perfect. I chose the navy jacket Clara wanted, then pinned Lillian's small silver compass to the inside pocket. She had given it to me when I retired. For when pride gets you lost, she said. That night I needed directions. The lantern room sat above the harbor, all glass walls and brass railings where wealthy people ate fish while looking down at boats owned by people wealthier still. I arrived at 6:35. Nathan had told me to be early. The private room overlooked the water. A long table waited under soft lights with white roses in the center, and Clara's place cards at each seat. June Pritchard arrived 5 minutes after me in a navy dress and sensible shoes, carrying a purse big enough to hold a hammer. She hugged me once hard. "You look terrible," she whispered. "You look armed," I whispered back. "Emotionally," she said. Then she sat beside me and folded her hands in her lap with the calm of a woman who had waited long enough. Guests arrived in waves. 2 couples from Vincent's company, people with perfect teeth and handshakes that felt like business cards. Pastor Eli Moore, who had married Clara and Vincent beneath the live oaks at Street Matthews. He greeted me warmly, not knowing he had walked into a trap set with linen napkins. Then Clara came in on Vincent's arm wearing silver, smiling too hard. Vincent's senior partner arrived with a woman from a bank that had been circling the marina land for months. She shook Clara's hand too warmly and asked me whether I was ready to enjoy retirement without all that dockside stress. I looked at Vincent. He looked away half a beat too late. The sale was not a dream. It was a table already being set. She looked so much like Lillian that I nearly lost my breath. Same cheekbones, same careful way of making sure everyone else was comfortable before checking herself. Vincent guided her chair out for her and kissed her temple. The table made affectionate sounds. I watched my daughter blush and sorrow move through me with muddy boots. The truth was going to save her. It was also going to hurt her. Vincent controlled the room immediately. He praised the view, teased the waiter, told a story about a city councilman and a misplaced yacht permit. Everyone laughed at the right moments. Men like him learn where laughter belongs. He raised his wine toward me across the table. "Ellis, glad you came." I lifted my water. Would not have missed it. The first course arrived, crab salad and little towers too proud to be food. Vincent spoke about legacy. That was the word he used. Legacy. He said families had a duty to preserve what they built while making smart choices for the future. I watched June's jaw tighten. Beneath the table, my phone buzzed once. "Nathan." 5 minutes. Pastor Eli began talking about their wedding day. "I remember Vincent looking so calm at the altar," he said. "Most grooms shake. Not this one." Vincent gave a humble little shrug. Clara laughed. I looked at the man who had stood before God with a plan already folded in his pocket. Calm was not virtue. Sometimes calm is simply confidence that the knife is hidden well. My phone buzzed again. Now, the door to the private room opened. Nathan walked in wearing a charcoal suit and no expression. Behind him came a woman from the Attorney General's office and 2 federal agents I had never met. The restaurant sound dimmed in layers. First the nearest table, then the doorway, then our room, as if someone had lowered a glass dome over us. Clara saw Nathan first. Her face lit with surprise. "Nate, you came." Then she saw the people behind him and the light broke apart. Vincent had his back to the door. He turned slowly, one hand still around his wineglass. For half a second the mask slipped. Not much. Just enough. The room saw a handsome husband. I saw a cornered animal counting exits. Nathan stopped at the head of the table. He did not look at Clara yet. He looked only at Vincent. "Vincent Sloan," he said, quiet enough that everyone leaned toward it. "You are under arrest for fraud, obstruction, witness tampering, and falsifying trust documents." Clara made a small sound, the kind a person makes when the floor changes location. Vincent laughed once. It was a bad laugh, thin and borrowed. "Nathan, this is embarrassing. Whatever grudge you think you're carrying, this is my anniversary dinner." The woman beside Nathan stepped forward. "Mr. Sloan, stand up." Vincent set his glass down carefully. That was the part I remember. Even then, he protected the performance from spilling. The federal agent began the rights warning, but Vincent spoke over him. "I want my attorney." Nathan nodded. "You will get one." Vincent's eyes moved around the room, measuring loyalties like assets. Partner, banker, pastor wife, old father-in-law. One by one, he discovered none of us could be bought quickly enough to save him. "You have nothing," Vincent said. Nathan opened a folder. "We have the original trust amendment from the safe under Ellis Beaumont's guest room. We have time-stamped photographs from your phone recovered this morning. We have the attorney who forged the filing, the bookkeeper who was paid to lie, and 3 shell companies connected to your development firm." The table went silent in a way that had weight. Nathan continued, each sentence placed like a stone. We also have a recording from Lillian Beaumont to June Pritchard made before her death stating you were pressuring her to remove the equal control clause. That recording gave us probable cause to revisit everything you touched. June reached into her purse and placed a small recorder on the table. Clara looked at June, then at me, then at Nathan. Her face had emptied not of feeling but of defense. Vincent turned to my daughter. Clara, don't listen to this. Your brother has hated me for years. He needs someone to blame. There it was, the old trick. Turn pain into jealousy. Turn evidence into emotion. Turn the victim into the problem. June's voice cut through the room, then soft but sharp. Clara, your mama tried to protect both of you. Clara pressed her napkin to her mouth. June did not stop. The only reason I stayed quiet was because Nathan asked me to help him prove it clean. Not dramatic. Clean. Your mother deserved clean. Those words did what the handcuffs could not. They made the truth human. Clara did not answer. She looked down at her hands folded around her napkin. Her wedding ring flashed in the candlelight. Vincent leaned toward her. Baby, look at me. She flinched at the word. I watched him notice. I watched him understand that something small and crucial had moved beyond his reach. He straightened, and for the first time all night he looked directly at me. I held his gaze. I did not smile. I did not speak. I let him see the old man. He had misread the widower who made coffee. The father who still noticed which stair creaked, the husband who remembered every promise made over a trust document in 2014. You put your safe in my house, I thought. You hid your crime under my roof. That was your arrogance, not my ignorance. The handcuffs clicked closed. One of Vincent's colleagues pushed away from the table. Pastor Eli whispered a prayer under his breath. Clara sat very still. As the agents walked Vincent toward the door, he tried one last time. Clara, he said. She looked up then. Her eyes were dry. Lillian's eyes. Do not say my name like you own it, she said. The whole room heard her. Vincent's face changed more at that sentence than at the handcuffs. He had expected tears, confusion, maybe pleading. He had not expected a locked door. The agents led him out through the restaurant, past people pretending not to watch. The harbor glittered behind the glass, shamelessly beautiful, as if the world had not just split open at table 7. For almost a minute nobody moved. Then Clara stood. Her chair scraped softly. She looked at Nathan. Did you know the whole time? No, he said. I suspected for years. I knew enough 6 months ago. I could not tell you without risking the case. Clara nodded once. The nod of a woman putting pain into a drawer until she had room to open it. The marina, she asked. Nathan's voice softened. Mom's real trust stands. Equal control. No sale. Unless we both agree. June's gift restored. My conviction is being vacated fully. Clara looked at June. June's eyes were wet, but her chin stayed high. Your mama loved both of you, June said. She did not build a family for a developer to harvest. Clara turned to me. Daddy. That one word came apart in the middle. I crossed the room and wrapped my arms around her, the way I had when she was 8, and frightened by hurricanes. She held on with both hands, silver dress shaking against my jacket. I am sorry, she whispered. No, I said into her hair. He fooled the room. Not just you. Nathan stood a few feet away, waiting like a man unsure whether he still belonged in the embrace. I reached out one arm. He came in slowly. My 2 children, both wounded by the same man in different languages, stood against me while the guests stared at their plates. I felt Lillian in that moment so strongly I almost turned to find her. Pastor Eli cleared his throat. What can we do? Clara pulled back, wiped her face, and looked at the untouched plates. First she said, voice unsteady, but present, someone should ask the kitchen to bring whatever is still warm. Nathan stared at her. June made a noise between a laugh and a sob. I looked for the waiter. You heard my daughter, I said. We are eating. And we did. Not because anyone was hungry exactly, but because Clara had planned that dinner and Vincent did not get to steal one more thing from her. We ate fish that tasted like smoke and lemon. June told a story about Lillian cursing at a broken copier. Pastor Eli listened like a man rewriting every sermon he had ever preached about appearances. After we ate, Clara removed her wedding ring and placed it beside Vincent's untouched wineglass. She did not throw it. Throwing would have given him drama. She set it down with 2 fingers like something found in a drawer after the owner had moved away. Then she asked Pastor Eli to drive her home and asked me to bring Nathan. 3 weeks later, I stood inside Beaumont Marina before sunrise. The docks creaked under a mild tide. Gulls complained from the roof of the bait shop. In the office on the scarred wooden desk where Lillian used to count receipts sat a certified copy of the restored trust. Not the forged filing. Not the version that erased Nathan. The real one. Her one. Nathan's record was cleared the day before. The judge's order used clean legal language for something filthy. Clara had moved into the guest room for a while, then laughed bitterly when she realized she was sleeping above the safe that had exposed her marriage. We had the safe removed. I kept the square of floorboard. It sits in my garage now, labeled Evidence of Arrogance. At the preliminary hearing, Vincent wore a gray suit and the expression of a man auditioning for sympathy. He glanced back once, searching for Clara. She was not there. Nathan was. So was June. So was I. When the judge denied a request to loosen the asset freeze, Vincent finally looked frightened. Not because he was ashamed. Because money had stopped obeying him. Vincent's company unraveled faster than a cheap net. Investors denied knowing him. Partners remembered concerns they had never voiced. The forged attorney took a deal. The bookkeeper testified. The waterfront development proposal disappeared from the city agenda. Men like Vincent build castles out of signatures, pressure, and silence. Once people start speaking, the walls discover they were paper. Clara was not suddenly fine. That is not how betrayal works. Some mornings she raged. Some afternoons she sat on the porch and stared at nothing. Nathan did not push her. He brought coffee and fixed the loose latch on the back gate. They talked in small pieces. Apologies came, but not all at once. Families rebuild brick by brick, not with fireworks. Clara and I had our hardest conversation at my kitchen table on a rainy Tuesday. She asked whether I had ever doubted Nathan. I told her the truth. Once. One terrible second during the trial. She cried harder at that than at Vincent's arrest. Then she admitted she had doubted Nathan for years because trusting Vincent had seemed easier than facing the size of the lie. Nathan returned to the old courthouse steps alone one afternoon, then called me from the sidewalk. He said he had expected to feel victory. Instead, he felt tired. I told him tired was allowed. A stolen life does not walk back into your hands freshly ironed. It comes back wrinkled, angry, and asking where to sleep. He laughed at that, which was enough. One Sunday, Clara and Nathan walked the marina together for the first time since the trial years. I watched from the office window. They stopped at Lillian's bench near slip 12, the one facing the channel. Clara said something. Nathan looked down, then laughed. A small laugh, rusty and surprised but real. I wrote that moment down in my head and put it somewhere permanent. At home, I took Lillian's watercolor off the hallway wall for cleaning and found a note taped behind it. Her handwriting faded but certain. Ellis, if you are reading this, you are dusting badly or missing me properly. Either way, tell the children the marina was never the treasure. They were. I sat on the hallway floor and cried like an old pipe finally bursting. That evening, Clara made dinner in my kitchen. Nathan burned the bread and blamed the oven. June opened a bottle of wine Lillian had been saving for something worth surviving. We drank it from mismatched glasses. Nobody mentioned Vincent. Not because he was forgotten, but because he no longer deserved the center of the table. Before bed, I carried the restored trust to Lillian's cedar chest. I placed it beside her sweaters, her letters, and the church program from our wedding. Then I closed the lid and rested my hand there. We found it, Lil, I said to the quiet room. He buried your voice under our floor, but he did not bury it deep enough. The house settled around me. The fourth stair complained. The porch chain clicked in the wind. Somewhere outside, a gull screamed like it had been personally insulted by the moon. For the first time in 6 years, my home did not feel like a place holding its breath. It felt old, wounded, stubborn, and alive. The next morning, I made coffee in Lillian's chipped blue mug. I stood by the kitchen window and watched Clara and Nathan argue gently over a stack of marina invoices. Equal control, just as their mother wanted. The coffee was too strong. The toast was too dark. The house was noisy before 8. I took one sip and smiled. It tasted exactly right. Some people think revenge is a shout. It is not. Real revenge can be a document restored a lie, corrected a daughter, freed a son's name, returned to him, and an old man finally understanding that kindness was never blindness. Vincent Sloan mistook my home for a hiding place. He forgot that every old house listens. Mine had been listening for years.